Samsung's 1,800% profit surge is a wake-up call for business leaders to strengthen their AI strategies and build sustainable competitive advantages. You are witnessing history right now because Samsung Electronics just projected an absolutely staggering 1,800% year-over-year surge in quarterly operating profit, a massive jump that completely rewrites the playbook on tech sector growth. If you want to talk about real money, this explosion brings their quarterly operating profit to an estimated 89.4 trillion South Korean won, which translates to a mind-blowing $58.4 billion US dollars. This isn't just about profits either, because your business needs to pay attention to their jaw-dropping quarterly revenue projection, which has skyrocketed to 171 trillion won. You have to realize that this marks Samsung's third consecutive record-breaking quarter for operating profit, proving to you that we are in a sustained structural shift rather than a fleeting tech fad. If you are a business leader, the message hitting your desk right now is brutally simple. The organizations controlling the physical AI infrastructure are capturing almost all the economic value. L-Impact Solutions points out that if your company is relying solely on basic software apps without touching the infrastructure layer, you're going to face intense, crushing cost pressures. To give you some scale of the monster market you are operating in, global semiconductor sales cleared a massive $627 billion US dollar back in 2024. You should be preparing your budget right now because industry forecasts show the semiconductor market is on track to smash past $700 billion US dollars during 2025. This massive growth is being driven almost entirely by the relentless demand for AI accelerators, high-bandwidth memory, advanced packaging, and data center processors. You are looking at a market where memory demand has completely outpaced manufacturing capacity, giving top-tier suppliers total power to keep prices high while you try to procure hardware. You need to keep an eye on the world's biggest hyperscale cloud operators because they are collectively projected to pour a staggering $350 billion US dollars into capital expenditure during 2025 alone. A massive chunk of that $350 billion US dollars is going directly into AI servers, GPU clusters, high-speed networking equipment, and advanced memory chips. Every single time you see a large language model deployed, it greedily consumes unimaginable quantities of HBM, DRAM, NAND storage, advanced cooling systems, and specialized manufacturing capacity. If you look at the competitive landscape, you will see a severe concentration of technological power, with NVIDIA holding a fierce, dominant grip on AI accelerators. You should recognize that giants like Samsung, SK Hynix, Micron, TSMC, and ASML hold absolute leverage because they occupy the most strategic choke points along the entire semiconductor value chain. What this teaches you is that if you can combine manufacturing scale, tech leadership, and massive capital investment, you can convert global AI demand into massive operating leverage. You need to understand that this crazy demand isn't just coming from experimental tech projects anymore. It is being fueled by enterprise productivity, national defense, and industrial automation. When you are planning your corporate capital allocation next year, you must evaluate your infrastructure exposure just as carefully as previous generations analyzed the shift to cloud computing. L-Impact Solutions warns that while these profits look legendary right now, history proves that semiconductor supercycles rarely maintain this peak profitability forever. You only have to look back at the brutal market corrections of 2001, 2009, 2019, and 2023 to see how fast things crash after periods of aggressive capacity expansion. As a savvy executive, you cannot afford to assume that today's premium pricing environment will remain unchanged throughout the rest of the AI investment cycle. You face a dangerous level of demand concentration right now because just 6 giants, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Oracle, and xAI, collectively account for well over 50% of all global AI infrastructure spending. To put that in perspective for your long-term planning, the world's top cloud providers are scaling up to invest $350 US to $400 billion US in capital expenditure during 2025. Compare that massive 2025 spend to the roughly $220 billion US they spent just 2 years earlier, and you can see how fast the capital requirements are inflating. L-Impact Solutions explicitly notes that if enterprise AI deployment slows down by even 10% to 15%, while memory production expands by 20% to 25%, chip pricing will collapse rapidly. If that supply-demand imbalance happens, you will see chip suppliers' operating margins compress instantly, despite them shipping much higher volumes of silicon. You should gasp at the sheer cost of entry here, because building just one single leading-edge semiconductor fabrication facility now demands a massive $20 to $30 billion. If you look closer at the machinery, advanced EUV lithography systems cost an unbelievable $220 to $380 million per single machine. You need to realize that a single modern manufacturing plant can require anywhere from 15 to 25 of these wildly expensive EUV systems just to run efficiently. On top of that, your partners have to inject billions more into advanced packaging, HBM production, clean room expansions, and massive electricity grids before a single chip ever reaches you. You are also operating in a geopolitical minefield where governments worldwide have collectively committed more than $250 billion through aggressive industrial subsidies. These massive cash injections include funding from the U.S. CHIPS and Science Act, the European CHIPS Act, South Korean incentives, and major Japanese manufacturing subsidies. You must constantly factor in export controls, chip restrictions, supply localization, spiking energy costs, and severe dependencies on critical minerals like gallium and germanium. L-Impact Solutions highlights a shocking truth that you might be misjudging. While global AI spending will top $500 billion annually before 2028, most enterprise independent industry studies reveal that a staggering 60% to 80% of enterprise AI pilots completely fail to ever reach full-scale production. You will likely see your own pilots fail too if you don't aggressively fix poor data quality, weak corporate governance, massive cybersecurity gaps, and fragmented legacy infrastructure. You need to remember that buying fancy software licenses might give you a fleeting productivity bump, but real advantage comes from your own proprietary data and disciplined capital allocation. To survive this, you need to establish an enterprise-wide AI investment framework backed by crystal clear, measurable financial targets. You must force every single AI initiative to prove its expected ROI, operating margin improvements, implementation costs, and exact payback periods before granting capital approval. If you can successfully drive a 10% to 20% productivity improvement across finance, procurement, and supply chain operations, you will easily outpace your competitors. You need to make supply chain diversification a board-level priority right now so you aren't left stranded during the next inevitable industry crunch. Stop relying on a single vendor and spread your risk across multiple giants like Samsung, Micron, SK Hynix, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and various hyperscale cloud providers. You should protect your operations by maintaining a strategic hardware inventory that covers at least 8 to 16 weeks of supply alongside solid dual supplier agreements. When allocating capital, you should never do a massive company-wide rollout. Instead, follow a strict, phased implementation strategy to protect your cash. Start by committing just 2% to 5% of your annual tech budget to isolated AI pilots, and only scale up to 10% to 15% once you see undeniable proof of success. You must ensure that every single major AI investment includes a rigorous sensitivity analysis covering shifting demand, infrastructure costs, and energy consumption over a 3 to 5 year horizon. You are going to face a brutal talent war because the global demand for AI specialists, semiconductor engineers, and data scientists vastly exceeds the available supply. You should expect to pay a steep premium of 20% to 40% over standard digital roles if you want to attract and retain top-tier AI professionals for your team. You can combat this talent shortage by investing at least 40 to 80 hours of continuous AI training annually for every single one of your knowledge workers. You must aggressively scale your cybersecurity budget alongside your deployments because a single global data breach now costs an average of $4.9 million. L-Impact Solutions advises that you must allocate a mandatory 10% to 15% of your total AI program budget strictly to zero-trust architecture, encryption, and model governance. Your board needs to institutionalize relentless value measurement, tracking hard metrics like EBITDA improvements, revenue growth, and operating cost reductions. To keep your cash flow healthy, you should closely monitor how your AI investments affect inventory turnover, customer acquisition costs, and your overall return on invested capital. You should implement annual AI maturity assessments covering more than 50 operational indicators to catch hidden investment gaps before they drain your capital. Your leadership team must run intense scenario planning that stress tests your business model against a severe semiconductor oversupply of 15% to 20%. You should also stress test your financials against potential AI infrastructure cost inflation of 10% to 25%, sudden electricity price volatility, and slower adoption rates. You must ensure your infrastructure programs use milestone-based funding and maintain strict contingency reserves of 10% to 15% before releasing a single dollar. You need to realize that poor quality enterprise data can instantly slash your organizational productivity by a painful 15% to 25%. To stop your AI models from degrading in production, you must maintain a near-perfect data accuracy rate of 98% to 99% across your entire master data management system. Ultimately, your long-term resilience in this wild AI economy depends entirely on disciplined governance and diversified operations rather than just chasing hype cycles. Are you already losing the AI race? Comment below. For more strategic analyses, visit our business consultancy website, link in the description below. Thank you.